yet, or?
Yep, we're up and running.
All right, we good?
Yep.
Call the meeting to order. Ask that you join us in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My apologies, we were in executive session, so I don't have everything quite up and running, so. Usually if I stand here in the middle, I get both.
There you go.
All right.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for joining us for our June Board of Supervisors meeting, whether it's in person or by YouTube. We're glad to have you join us. If at any time you can't hear any of us because we hear there's in and outs on the microphone, just tell us and we'll get closer to the microphone or do some adjustment over here. Some announcements. We held an executive session immediately prior to this meeting, and it was just a continued discussion about the potential purchase of additional land to expand Miller Park. Agendas are available on the table as you came in the door if you didn't get one. There's also a sign-in sheet there that we'd ask you to sign in before you leave tonight. Agenda for this meeting was posted on this building's entrance door on the township's website and on the township Facebook page. Meeting is also live streaming on YouTube, and a recording will be available through the township's website, and it will also be posted immediately on YouTube. Written minutes will be available once the board has approved them. There will be 2 opportunities for public comment after being recognized by the chair. We would ask that you step up to the podium in front of me to my left and address with your name and address before addressing the board, and that you would speak strongly into the microphone. And with that, we will do self-introduction of the board members.
Dave Brose.
Jeff Rogers.
Art Rutledge.
Bob Brown.
Hello there.
Jeff Ronald.
To my left is Todd Ziegler, the township manager. Wendy Brown, the recording secretary, is listening and watching via YouTube. We have excused our solicitor from tonight's meeting, and next to Todd is Ryan, who will, and I'm not even going to.
He's admitted defeat.
Last name. Thank you. I got to learn that though, because it's embarrassing not to be able to. Ryan basically will eventually be taking over the role of the township manager some years out. So he's just getting familiar and part of everything that's going on. He's currently part of our maintenance crew. And with that, we will go back to the agenda. First item is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting in May.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Are there any questions before we vote? We'll vote on approval of the May minutes.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. The May minute meetings are approved. We will move to the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. Any comments you wanted to make on it, Todd?
I have none now.
Questions from anybody on the board before we vote? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We have approved the treasurer's report. That brings us to the first opportunity for public comment. Typically, this portion of public comment is to address any items on the agenda that you aren't scheduled to talk about later. So anything anybody wants to address the board at this time? All right, seeing none, will we move on to the agenda? And under ordinance and revisions, we don't have anything. Subdivision and land development, we have the Audi on the Shipley Family Limited Partnership land, used to be Tom's, I guess. So there's some modification requests and some final land development. So I think particularly we'd like you to walk through the modification request. You are, for better or worse, kind of part of what we see as the interchange and exit 14. And if you've seen it, you know that a lot of money and thought went into how that was done with the flagpole and sculpturing and lighting. So we want to kind of make sure that we're not detracting from that, but trying to be enhancing it, if anything. So if you'd help us understand it, we'd appreciate it.
Good evening. My name's Neil Metzger with Site Design Concepts Incorporated. I'm a project manager in the Site Design and Permitting department. So, Mr. Ziegler, this will actually change the plan sheets if I need to?
Yes, that'll scroll up and down.
Okay.
If you'll bear with us for 1 second, please. We're still learning this YouTube and sharing screens. You're good to go.
All right, as you know, there was a preliminary land development plan already approved for, this final land development plan that I'm here before you this evening is for lot number 1, which currently this plan proposes a retail store, which is actually a grocery store. That's what it's defined under your ordinance. The lot number 2 was the Rural Farms convenience store, which has gone through obviously preliminary plan and final plan and received approval. There are modification requests that are part of the request today for hopefully a conditional approval of the final land development plan for lot number 1 for this proposed Aldi's grocery store. The first waiver / modification relates to section 12.110.5.a, which is in regards to requiring a perimeter buffer yard or buffer strip along all collector streets. We're requesting a waiver. That waiver was also part of the preliminary land development plan and was granted as part of that plan. Obviously, the site has significant topographical challenges with the hill that's just south of the site and the widening of East Forest Avenue that took place, obviously, within the last 3 years. So we are requesting relief consistent with the relief that was requested as part of the preliminary plan. We are proposing some landscaping along, obviously, both street frontages there to the north and to the west. Obviously, west is ID3, north is the newly constructed interchange. So there is going to be some beautification, landscaping that'll help to soften it. However, we're requesting relief in terms of the intensity and the depth of that landscaping. The second waiver / modification is from section 12-110.5.b, which requires a 10-foot wide landscape buffer between separate adjacent developments. Obviously, this is 2 separate lots that kind of function as one for access, and therefore we're requesting relief on that mandated 10-foot landscape buffer between lot number 1 and lot number 2. Obviously, we are proposing some landscaping, as you can see on the plan that's on the screen here, that there is landscaping that will separate the 2 developments. It's more so in line with interior landscaping.
Are those like trees or bushes inside of like a concrete curbing that I'm seeing there in between?
Yes.
Right.
And that request was also part of the preliminary plan that was reviewed and approved.
Yeah.
It should also be noted, if I forget, the Planning Commission reviewed all of these waiver requests and recommended approval of them. The third one is from section 12-111.2a.1, which requires 1 planting island shall be located at the end of each parking space row and at intervals of no greater than 100 feet apart, or every 10 parking stalls in single or double bays. We are requesting some relief in terms of the ends of these parking rows here that go from east to west towards the store. So we're requesting relief from the requirement to install islands there. Part of it is due to the tightness of the site and the way truck deliveries will access the loading area for the Aldis, which is located pretty much between the proposed retaining wall and the proposed grocery store. The truck will be coming in and heading north and then backing into the loading area before heading out the rear access drive, in an effort to obviously not have the truck maneuver in areas that have parking and customers and non-truck, obviously people that will be walking around. So the truck is staying kind of out of the parking lot and trying to stay out. In order to accommodate that and the maneuvers of the truck, we're asking for relief. In addition to replacing those particular islands with painted islands that are shown on the plan, it also provides kind of an area of rescue, or an area for the workers that push the grocery carts in and out of the store to obviously move out of the way, and for when cars are going in and out of the parking lot and in and out of the different aisleways. As you can see by the landscaping plan, obviously the perimeter of the site is still landscaped so that the visibility or the view of this site from the street or from the east or from the west, obviously there's going to be plants and trees that people will see.
I have a question. The islands that you want to remove all three, or just the one around the area of the trucks backing into the loading dock?
It would be these three right here, yes. There's three there. Obviously, the three that are on the east end that separates the parking area from the right-in only access drive are being landscaped and curbed. The next waiver request is for number 4, would be from section 12.111.2.c, which requires that the last parking stall on a road be separated from drive aisles by a planting island a minimum of 10 feet wide. It's kind of a duplicate regulation, means the same. It's pretty much the same requirement, and our request and justification is the same. The fifth one, the fifth waiver / modification, is the requirement that one shade tree plus shrubs, ground cover, perennials, and or mulch cover the entirety of the interior or planting islands at maturity. We're requesting relief from this island here. Will have shrub. There's an island. I don't know if I can zoom in here, but
Yeah, it's straight up. If you hit the plus sign, straight up.
oh, I
Yeah,
see.
right there.
Yeah. All right. But there's a sidewalk that currently enters the site from the interchange here, so that we're requesting relief, and we're actually requesting to relocate the 3 shade trees that would be placed in these particular 3 islands to a location at the loading dock. So we're requesting the relief to not have to do a shade tree in this particular island. The proposed freestanding business sign is located in this island, and there is an electric ground-mounted transformer in this particular island at the end of this row of parking. So we're requesting to have a modification to allow those 3 particular shade trees to be planted between the rear access drive to the south of the Audis and the actual loading dock. And there are street trees that are being planted, obviously, out here along Forest Avenue. As you can see, there's 4 trees right here along the frontage.
Is there something being planted around the transformer? I know you can't do too much there, but that'll kind of hide it, or? I can't tell whether that's, what that's showing there.
Looks like it's stone.
Yeah, it looks like stone, which I guess would help.
Yeah, I know there's bollards. Usually they need 4 bollards on each side. And, yeah, it looks like they're putting landscape stone in here.
Right.
Obviously, there's electric lines that go in and out of that.
Right.
There's a lot of utilities here.
Yeah,
So they are putting some landscape stone in around it. And obviously, we do have landscaping here and here.
Right. And what about where you have your pylon sign? That does look like that's landscaped and stone there, right?
Correct. There's shrubs, there's headlight screens. These are all shrubs along here that will obviously provide screening for headlights that would be facing East Forest Avenue. There's shrubs proposed, I believe, right in here, and some shrubs. There's landscape stone around this entire thing, and then there's headlight. There's essentially a shrub row along the front of, I believe, all the parking out front here that will block the headlights shining. That didn't work, but
What kind of trees will you plant?
well,
Oaks, maples?
I'll have to look at the legend. to be
I was just
honest.
curious of how they grow, over these other areas.
Oh, I think this is some kind of, the AR, I believe, is a maple, but, all right, what trees we got out here? I'm kind of helping out tonight on this project, but GT, AR, so there's 2 GTs and 2 ARs. So if I zoom out, actually, I have a set of plans here that may help that as well. I think the one is a red maple, the ARs.
Yeah, the AR looks like it's red maple.
Yep, October Glory red maple, and the GTs are thornless honey locust trees. And the other 2 trees that are being planted are more of the shade trees, I believe, in the parking lot, which are American hornbeam and a downy serviceberry. So the 6th waiver/modification that we're requesting is the requirement to provide divider strips between every other bay of parking areas. And that was also reviewed and approved as part of the preliminary plan. Essentially, we couldn't have these 3 separate things without a 10-foot strip. So due to obviously the tightness of the site, redevelopment of the site, the improvements to East Forest Avenue, we're requesting the relief, the waiver of that, consistent with what was part of the preliminary plan. So that was number 6, and there's one more waiver request that's part of this plan proposal, and that is from section 12, 111.4, which requires plantings be installed between parking lots and buildings. We're requesting to not have to construct, now there is obviously plantings constructed here on the Interstate 83 side of the building. Trying to see where that is here. And on the north side of the building, we're requesting relief to place plantings there because of that's where all the handicapped access is, and we're trying to provide more than the minimum maneuverability for handicapped people that will be using the proposed ADA spaces there. The other location where we're requesting relief, where there's not a main entrance or the overhang here, which is kind of your main entry, would be just south of that. And this is where all of the pickup orders, the online pickup deliver, I guess it's pickup, people online, they come and pick up their stuff, and I believe there may be some storage units that will be placed out there along that particular building wall. So that area that we're requesting relief is right here along the east side of the building, just south of that main entrance area.
Right, well, thank you for the detail. I think our concern, especially over this property, as I said before, is that it almost becomes an extension of the exit 4. And in general, we try to be a lot more strict with landscaping than probably some places are, because we don't want it to look like there's just a building stuck out in the middle of something, but that there's a lot of screening and landscaping to help it. And you'll see that throughout the township if you drive through it. And I guess our biggest concern, and it looks like it's fairly well covered, would be, I guess it's the west end, which is up against the exit. So I guess there are, 3 trees and a fair amount of shrubs there when I look at that? Not on Forest, but down on the...
Up in this corner here?
Yeah, yes. So back from that.
On the west side of the building.
Right.
Yes, there are 3 large trees, and which are actually those October crimson or sunset or something red maples. So there's these 3 red maples, which will actually over time probably really help to soften that side of the building. But then there's, I believe these may be the service berries. What are PLs? I apologize. Where is that is cherry laurel, but so these larger circles here are actual cherry laurel, but yeah, there's shrubs here that will be below the actual red maple trees. But yes, there's shrubs here in this corner. That's a group of, I believe, 7, and then you got quite a large group of shrubs here underneath that red maple. There's 3 between them. And then obviously there's some here, and then this landscape island has a whole bunch of shrubs that would help to obviously not block the visibility of the front of the Aldi's, but really soften that western, I guess you'd say the western elevation view of the site.
And what am I looking at right below where your arrow is now? Yeah, in that area,
That's an underground stormwater management system, a big stone bed.
Questions from anybody else?
How many total parking spaces are there?
108 parking spaces are proposed, which we feel should be adequate. It's more than what the ordinance requires, but operationally, I believe operationally they wanted Aldi's, based on their other stores and things like that, wanted at least 95, and we're doing 108 here.
Davidson says 110.
What's that?
CS Davidson says 110. So so more than what you required.
Yeah, I don't think whether it's 108, 9, or 10 makes any difference to us.
No.
Yeah, I saw that comment there, yeah. But, I think we tend to leave it to the developers and the owners to make sure they plan for enough cars, because they pay the price if they don't. So I think we're okay there.
Yeah.
Other questions? I guess I would just say if we forward and approve it, you can be sure we'll inspect very carefully for all the landscaping. If there are no other questions, is there a motion? This would be whether or not we're going to allow, we'll use the word modifications rather than waivers, because that's our language. We get
Yep,
it
the
confused
7
sometimes.
requested modifications.
Yes. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the modifications for the Aldi Limited Family Partnership Plan.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second that we would approve the 7 modifications as requested and delineated in the paperwork you have. Questions before we vote? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye. So we have 5 votes to the affirmative, and again, we will carefully monitor the landscaping. Okay, I think, Todd, will we vote on the plan before the sign modification?
Yeah, I think we should do the
Plan
plan
first?
first.
Okay. So what would be before us now would be approval of the final land development plan. As usual, we would make that conditional, should there be a motion, upon the C.S. Davidson letter, which I believe is dated March the 28th.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the final land development plan, conditional upon all outstanding items on the March 28th letter of C.S. Davidson being fulfilled. Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. 5 votes to the affirmative, so you have the final land development plan approval. And I guess we have one last item, which is sign modification. Thank you for your explanation of all the landscaping. It was helpful to us.
Yep, no problem, and I appreciate you thanking me for that. Yes, we're requesting 4, I guess, are they variances, relief? I'm not sure what it's called, but some relief or deviation modifications from the regulations that are part of the, I guess it's a separate sign ordinance,
We have a
correct?
separate sign ordinance.
Yes,
You're correct.
and 3 of them pertain to, there are a total of 3 business signs proposed. 2 proposed on the, the 2, I guess you'd say, fronts related to where customers would be accessing the actual store, and then there's one as it relates to the freestanding business sign that would be located out along Forest Avenue. Three of the requested items relate to a slight increase in the allowable square footage associated with the surface area of those signs, and the other is it pertains to the fact that your regulations only allow either a freestanding business sign or an attached
Correct.
building business sign. So once again, the unique situation here, and I believe that was also part of the part of the testimony when Rural Farms requested similar relief, is that the fact that it's a unique and kind of new type of interchange where everybody's familiar with it. Cars are driving on the opposite side of the road, and then they obviously come back and get on the correct side of the road. So we feel that it's very paramount to make sure that the public that's traveling up and down, obviously you got an interstate here, you got an interchange, and then you have this unique, very new type of interchange design, that the signs are large enough that somebody can recognize if they're heading to the Aldi's because their phone said, it's here, but they need to kind of recognize exactly where it is and decide, and basically see where the driveways are so they can safely get from one lane to the other lane. I'll see the, I believe there's 2 lanes, essentially 2 lanes east and 2 lanes west on Forest Avenue until you get right up here to Wolf Road. So we feel that it's, the ordinance only allows, I believe, 32 square feet is the max for both.
Yeah, it's the freestanding sign is not to exceed 32, and the building sign is 50 foot per wall.
It's 50 square foot per wall.
That's
And
correct.
I believe we're requesting 76 square feet
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
each. And this is Attorney Dissinger?
Yes.
Yes, Attorney Derek Dissner from
Yeah,
Barley
so
Snyder.
The free,
Excuse me, can I just ask you to identify yourself, because our
Yeah.
recording secretary's at home, and then we also post these online, so
Yeah,
I
of
know
course.
who's talking.
So
Thank you.
Derek Dissinger at Barley Snyder, obviously Neil introduced himself earlier. Tony Vislusky is here from Aldi, but I will try to minimize his public speaking because I've done a bunch of these before. Yeah, as Neil said, the freestanding sign, your ordinance is 32 feet. Aldi's proposing 75 square feet. Building is 50 square feet. Aldi's proposing 76 square feet on both of them. So as Neil said, that's 3 of the requested modifications are the size. And then the 4th is because Aldi is proposing a business wall sign and a freestanding sign. Like I said, to reduce Tony's public speaking, these are all considered prototype Aldi signs. So what's being proposed here is not a bigger sign than Aldi would put on a different building. These are considered their prototype signs.
Just to clarify, the wall sign is just one sign on each wall, correct?
That's correct, and we can show you exactly where they are.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, they're up in, sorry, this is Neil Metzger again. Yeah, they're up here obviously in the northeast corner of the, which is kind of the main entrance to the grocery store. So all the proposed signage, there is no proposed signage to capture the attention of motorists that are on the main line of I-83. These signs are more for, obviously, when the phone or PennDOT logo signing helps to guide the motorist off the interchange, finding exactly where the that particular, in this case, the Aldi store is, so that they can get in the appropriate lane and safely, obviously, exit from East Forest Avenue and go to the site. And it should be noted that the westbound traffic on East Forest Avenue, unlike the rural farms, this is even more of a challenge, which, you know, is the reason we're requesting the larger signs is for somebody traveling west on East Forest Avenue to see where that Aldi's is so that they can appropriately turn before the rural farm store. So that's another reason we think in this unique circumstance that all westbound traffic on East Forest has to enter at a driveway that's somewhat remote, like 600 feet from the actual Aldi store. And that's why we feel it's important to have both this slightly larger wall-mounted sign and the actual pole-mounted sign, because the views, obviously looking through the rural farm site, they may see the one and then see the other, but it's going to help them see, oh, that's where that Aldi's is, especially if they're not familiar. Obviously, if you're familiar with it, you're going to be fine, but if you're traveling through, you're visiting or whatever, to see that so they can get in the left turn lane and make the left into the development there across from Wolf Avenue.
yeah, you did provide a
Yes.
rendering with the packet that we have, so we can see that.
I don't recall what the sign modification was for Royal Farms. Do you have that number, the square foot?
I can tell you it was larger.
It was over 100, it was 130 or some square, obviously they have fuel pricing as well,
Yeah,
but it was
It was 162.
that's
Square
correct.
The main reason was that
That's just the one on
because
83,
there was an
correct?
existing sign there for
Or is it
prior
part of the skyline?
establishment, and we allowed it to
Yeah.
So you're probably benefiting from that as you ask for this.
Yeah, and just to cover the variance standard, because it's in your ordinance, just to sort of summarize this, we have unique physical circumstances really here from every direction. I mean, you have a very steep drop in elevation from the south, steep drop in elevation from the west, the highway from the west, that, what do you guys call that, the diamond?
Diverging diamond.
Diversion diamond to the north. And then, as Neil went over, the obstructions from the west, one of them being the fact that we're looking here through the canopy from Royal Farms, who also received the sign ordinance. And just to cover the remaining ones, just so I can say I went over them here for you guys. Obviously, these physical circumstances were not created by the applicant, but one of those factors in your variance standard is not altering the essential character of the neighborhood. So I'm glad you sort of mentioned the Royal Farms sign and the size. We're going to be under that, so we're not going to go in an area where it's not like we're the only sign that is over there. And just the final element of it being the minimum relief requested, I just wanted to reiterate, Aldi's not proposing significantly larger signs than it would put anywhere else. These are considered their prototype signs and sizes.
And I would just say that we don't care about, but I appreciate your mentioning that.
I figured it's-
But what you do at your other stores doesn't matter. This is the one we're gonna see.
Right.
My wife likes Aldi, so I'm not against an Aldi, but, she's glad to have one close by. But again, we're just trying to, you know, we're more strict than most places, and we like to be, and you should want to too, your store to look nice. I mean, I'm familiar with some Aldis that just look like bare bones. There's one in York, there's very little landscaping, and it's just not pleasant to see. And this isn't gonna be like that, but we wanna make sure that it isn't. Are there any questions? Anybody on the board? Is there a motion from anybody on the board?
I'll make a motion, we approve the sign modification for Aldi. Don't have a date on here. No,
That's all you need to do.
okay.
That's good enough.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second that we would approve the sign modifications, which includes both wall-mounted and pylon, and exceeding what would be our ordinance requirements, but somewhat characteristic and blending with what has already been approved at another site. So with that, unless there are further questions, I'll call for a vote.
I have one more question.
Please.
Where was staff on the sign modification request?
Staff was fine with it.
Huh.
Yeah. It did not go to planning commission.
Yeah, signs are an ordinance by itself, so they don't typically go to planning.
And staff kind of looked at Royal Farms as the justification.
It's a good role model.
So, yeah.
Good,
So
good
you
role
need
model to
thank
have.
Royal Farms.
All right. Vote?
Did you?
That was my
It's up
question.
to you. If there are no other questions,
I'm
I
ready.
didn't just want to dive into the vote if we were still
we
waiting.
shall vote. Right?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
I paused for dramatic
Aye.
effect.
5 votes to the affirmative, so the sign modifications are approved.
Yep, thank you very much, and have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Good luck with the store.
You too.
All right, the next item on our agenda is New Haven Development. I guess this is a draft agreement for the road. This is between us and New Freedom,
Correct.
right? You have the draft in front of you. I think our solicitor has looked at it. I've looked at it. Todd has looked at it. I believe we're pretty much satisfied with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't need to explain unless anyone has any questions, but you're familiar with the road from the last meeting.
I have a question. There could be some type of a winter maintenance agreement?
Yeah, that's
Yep,
that's
that's
part
part-
of the road
Is that-
maintenance.
is that part of it in here?
That includes all of it, yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Not only that, but the fact that we'll be inspecting it, and we'll inspect it again before we accept it downstream, so I think that it's pretty thorough in the agreement.
I thought it looked like a good idea if you start out up in Freedom Hills and just let the borough plow it out going downhill.
Yep, yeah. So what we'd be looking for tonight, if the board is comfortable with the draft agreement, is authorizing the board chair to sign the agreement upon approval by New Freedom Borough Council. I don't know if they'll have any changes to come back. I did run it by them. I haven't heard anything back negative. But should at their meeting they have any proposed changes, we'll have to bring it back to
I'll have
the
to
board.
bring it
But
back.
so that's why tonight I just asked for board's approval for the chair to sign it, provided there's no changes.
Sure.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
I think Phil wants to. Oh, okay.
He's just getting ready for the next one, I think. Make a motion to approve the road maintenance agreement for New Haven.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to basically approve the agreement for the chair to sign, provided New Freedom passes or approves it in exactly the same language. Okay, questions? We should vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
5 votes to the affirmative, so that is conditionally, I guess, approved, we would call it. Yes, Phil?
I just wanted to know if Todd could email me a copy of that tomorrow so I could look at it. Sure. Okay, thank you.
All right, next item on here is a bond reduction for Holland's Organics.
Yeah, I put in your packets the request for a bond reduction on behalf of Holland's Organics was submitted by James R. Holly and Associates, which is their engineer. They were requesting that the bond be revised to an amount of $184,613, which is a reduction from the original bond of $411,196.50. Today I did receive a letter from the township engineer, Jeff Shue. He went out and he did an inspection of the property and everything. And in his recommendation to the board is that the amount of $216,683.50 be released, which would leave a remaining balance $10,000 more than what they were asking. So the remaining balance by Jeff Shue, his recommendation is $194,513 would be the remaining balance on the bond. So just would need action from the board to approve that release and reduction.
I'll make a motion to approve the release of the bond.
Second.
Do we need the dollar amount in there?
No.
So we have a motion and a second that we would release the amount of bond and, to the amount basically recommended by Jeff Shue. This is a little
Correct.
different than this, okay? Questions? We should vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
5 votes to the affirmative, we have approved the bond reduction. And next we have several reports. Todd, anything you want to add or say about yours?
I have nothing, no.
Questions on Todd's report? You have the code enforcement, sewage enforcement, zoning enforcement report in front of you. Very detailed as usual. Todd, want to add anything?
The only thing I do want to add is I did receive an email from the zoning officer, Cliff Tinsley. He did file with the district court today for the Handy Dandy property, 2 civil complaints. One at $500 per day. Of course, at district court, the max that they could award is $12,000. And then the other one, this has to do with the storage of the junk and the containers on site full of trash. And then the other civil complaint has to do with sign violations, the number of signs and so forth, so.
So on the first one, from the time he's filed that complaint, when does the clock tick on the per day?
Actually, the date of the violation notice.
So that would be today or yesterday?
No,
then?
the violation notice was sent,
Oh,
A month
okay.
or so.
yeah.
So he's already
Correct,
in deep, you know
Yeah,
why?
yeah.
Okay, so that's, obviously he can contest that,
Correct, right, he has the opportunity to
but
appeal
that would be at the court now.
Correct,
So I take it that Cliff stopped by and took a look?
yeah, he met the proprietor last night.
Oh, well, it was looking real good last night.
Well,
Perhaps
good.
it was the night before, I don't
Oh, yeah.
remember.
Well,
which-
the
it's
thing
last
is,
night or two, but,
it looked the same this morning.
yeah, so.
Well, that's good to know, that's, so certainly something that needed to be addressed. Questions on anything from anybody on the board? Okay, move on to the monthly maintenance department report. Any questions or anything that Todd or Ryan want to add?
I had a question. From our conversation last week, Todd, are we looking to resurface the section of Mount Airy from Tona to Windy Hill? Or we were just doing
Just the lower
filling of it?
section.
Just the lower, like towards the stop sign?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a pretty good dividing line where the road
Yeah.
Just falls
changes
apart.
drastically.
Kind of when you
Yeah.
get up past the wooded area.
Right.
Yeah.
Right before
Right,
the bed
yeah,
there,
yeah,
yeah.
it's good from
So-
there on, it's below that it's, so from around that area.
It probably moved up to next or second next on the list, I believe, but,
Good.
so.
It's getting
Well,
close.
getting
It's
those,
getting
those
closer.
holes filled is, in the meantime, is definitely helpful for that area.
Any other questions?
Do we have a time frame on PennDOT for the last of the Shrewsbury signs?
Was the last one put up? Or is
No,
there one
I
more
got
yet?
one more on the-
Okay, I thought there was one more yet, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there's just one more.
Yes.
Yeah, there are several on
Northbound
I.
side of 83.
What
I
was
was
it?
gonna say it's
Northbound
83.
side of 83, right where Barmac is.
Okay,
On there. that
Gotcha.
Needs to be.
And we're waiting for PennDOT with their crash truck, if
Yes.
that's what they call it, for
Oh,
safety.
okay.
it's a great name for a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one at
The
the
anti-crash truck? or-
Whatever.
Whatever.
the southbound has been there for a while.
Southbound is up now.
Yep,
yes.
yep, I did notice
We were
that
able to get that
a while back. That's good.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Right, we'll move on. You have, the engineer's report. I think most of those things have probably been covered in some of the other things we've looked at, unless somebody has a question. We have a fire and EMS report. I guess the only thing there, Todd, is kind of an update maybe on the chase truck.
Yeah, just that the chase truck that's being purchased by New Freedom gonna be placed at Shrewsbury Fire Company. They're upfitting, the upfitting company advised that the equipment needed was being shipped from California as of May 23rd. And once they receive that, they'll be reaching out to the fire company administration to start working on access to the station for the paramedics, so.
Ball's rolling.
All right,
good
that
news.
sounds good. And you have the land development report. Any questions there? You have my report. I would make just two comments on that. One, I attached to this kind of my takeaways from a webinar that I attended, which was planning for trucks in your community. That's kind of timely, maybe a little later, but these were things that they've seen. This is by Patrick Wright. I think we have had him involved in some things here before.
Yeah, he was actually the LTAP consultant who came
Right.
down when we were looking at removing the small roundabout on Mount Airy Road.
So we have him with PennDOT, and it was also included somebody, I think it was from Lancaster County here, who had been through some of this. So these are things that we probably have a chance to address and get comment on when we know who's going to be occupying the warehouse, and can kind of look at what we are doing about these things. The biggest thing probably is truck drivers run out of time, and when they do, where are they going to park? And we don't want it to be on the Walmart parking lot, which is kind of becoming the local stopping
Truck stop.
point for truck traffic now.
Yeah.
On a weekend, you can count about a dozen tractor trailers sitting there. So, and when they're southbound, they have no place to go. You know, so we want to make sure that these people will take care of those trucks and not somebody else. So I just invite you to kind of take a look through that and remember it when we get to talking with some of the tenants that will come to be, who are not here yet. And the other thing was, there was a transportation improvement program presentation. This is a York County plan. I have details on it. There's not much planned for this area, but if anybody wants to see the details, I have them, and you're welcome to. And Stan, I skipped you, I apologize, so I assume you've got something for us, please. Unless there were questions on anything I had, and I'll come back after Stan's done if other supervisors have comments.
Okay, no problem. Stan Walters. I am the Emergency Management Coordinator for the township. And first of all, I can hear you all back there, so.
All right, good.
Sound
Adjustments
volume-
were made.
Sound volume's good. Want to just thank the supervisors as well as Todd for arranging for Moyer to come in from Lancaster County and put the county radio antenna up. I'm going to be testing the radio tonight, but grateful that work is done. And
You can thank Ryan there for being up in the bucket.
and Ryan for being up in the bucket, yeah, absolutely. Also, we did receive the equipment that was funded by Act 147 funds. That would be the nuclear energy money
Oh,
that comes
okay.
from the plants. We are responsible for the decontamination operation
Right.
if it's needed at Southern York County School District. And in the past, we haven't been on the list for funding for any kind of material, but we were able to purchase a laptop, a printer, a tote, some signs, and some collapsible cones to be used in the decon center if we ever needed it. And
I'm assuming that's in the event Peach Bottom were to melt down.
correct.
Okay.
And so we're not in the 10-mile emergency planning zone, but the high school campus is part of the plan for decontaminating workers that would be in the contaminated area.
Okay.
And also as a place for the citizenry to go if they are in the exiting the area, to be able to be checked for radioactive contamination. So now that we have that equipment, we'll be able to use that when we set up for drills, which are both federally and state monitored by PEMA and FEMA every few years. So
Great,
just wanted to let you know those things. Thank you.
good, thank you.
Any questions for me?
Questions for Stan? You do such a good job, Stan, we never have any.
Well, good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I apologize that I overlooked you for a moment. And I also overlooked the sewer committee. It did meet this afternoon. I don't know if there's anything of any,
Positive movement, from your meeting with the
usually.
authority and other members,
Yeah.
member organizations, what have you.
Any questions? Are there any comments from other supervisors on anything? I gotta start following the agenda rather than flipping through what's here, because if I don't have a report, I don't see it. Well, that would bring us to old business. Todd, I guess just an update on,
Yeah, just a quick update. As you know, we've applied several times in conjunction with Shrewsbury Borough for a multimodal grant for curb and sidewalk along portions of
Yeah.
Mount Airy Road and Forest Avenue. Those several rounds have been unsuccessful. The word I received last month is that Shrewsbury Borough is no longer going to participate in that application. As I mentioned to the board last month, the application's done, the work's done, and I think we just keep resubmitting. With that said, back in 2020, we had received a $100,000 grant from your county commissioners through the Marcellus Shale Grant Program, and that is to go toward the curb and sidewalk project. I did follow up since last meeting with the York County Board of Commissioners and asked the question, if that project, we don't move forward with that, if we could use that funding elsewhere, particularly at Windy Hill Park for a pavilion. And recreation is one of the things that you can use Marcellus Shale funds for. The email I received back is that, no, we could not. They wanted the funds back. So I then followed up and asked if we apply for the multimodal grant independently, could we hold on to that funding as a matching fund? So they did get back to us and said that, you know, they would let us hold that for an additional 2 years. Then if we weren't successful within 2 years, they were gonna put that back into the Marcellus Shale grant.
Or we'll do a piece of sidewalk somewhere.
Yeah. So anyway, bottom line is, we can't use it anywhere else under approved Marcellus Shale projects, but they are letting us hang on to it, even though we're not going to be doing it cooperatively with Shrewsbury Borough.
Well, that's still good news.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, we have under new business, I guess we've distributed the EMS tax and fire protection tax. And you have the details in front of you.
And we did just give Glen Rock 140,000, correct?
Correct.
Right in
Wonderful.
front of you now. Yes.
We don't have any township residents out there that I'm aware of, but anyway, we implemented the new EMS tax for 2024 to help fund Glen Rock Ambulance as well as Rose EMS. This is the first distribution. We decided a couple years ago we would do one kind of in mid-late spring and then one at the very end of the year, because most of our funds are in here by May 1st. So we collected a total of $187,000. Till we took out the commission, workers' comp, a tax collector commission, so forth. We distributed $40,000 to Glen Rock Ambulance, and then $133,613.66 is a check for Rose EMS.
And the difference is just because we held some back for the later distribution between the 100. Oh, no, it's because we took.
Well,
out
some has workers' comp,
Right,
comes out of
workers'
that,
comp.
as well as the
I
tax
got
collector
you.
commission,
Yep.
yeah.
I'm there now, okay.
So, if I remember correctly, I have the envelope sealed, but I believe they were dated for June, so we would need approval from the board authorizing those funds to be released.
Make a motion to approve releasing the EMS funds to Glen Rock and Rose.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to release the EMS tax distribution. Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, they're released, and now we have the fire protection.
Yeah, so then the fire protection one, again, we collected $264,000, fire protection tax, again, we had a little bit of interest, fund balance, so we took out the tax collector commission, the minimum account balance. We had a total of $258,987.40 to distribute. And it's based on those formulas across the top, the 25.59, et cetera, across the top there. So Glen Rock Hose and Ladder will be getting $66,274.88. Rose Fire Company, $80,985.36. And Shrewsbury Fire Company, $111,727.16. And again, just need authorization to release those funds.
Is there a reason the fire protection tax was lower this year than it was the last two?
You mean as far as the 23 distribution?
Yeah, the 23 and 22, looks like we brought in 273, 271.
Well, keep in mind, we still have fire tax that'll be coming in. I don't know what that amount is. That's
Okay.
one reason. The other reason
From
is,
like late returns and things?
yeah,
Okay.
the other reason is in the 2022's reimbursement for the tax collector commission took place in 23. So 22 did not have any tax collector commission withheld.
Okay.
So in 23 was actually 2 years' worth of tax collector commission.
But the
So
big
that's
thing
part of
is
it as
there'll
well.
be another distribution.
Correct, in December. Yeah.
Okay.
And interesting to note that even with here, you're talking about taxpayers contributing about $450,000 to the fire company and
EMS,
EMS.
yeah.
So
Combined.
right,
Yeah.
so substantial report with more to come.
I'll make a
make-
motion to approve the 2024 fire protection tax distribution.
Second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
I think it already passed.
There were actually two.
It was
but
thirded.
I think Jeff Reynolds was the loudest. But with that, we'll vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We've approved the 2024 initial fire protection tax distribution. Okay, we have a mandatory contract. This is just extending the time.
Correct.
Ron?
And this is for the grant money we received for updating the comprehensive plan. It extends the contract period to December 31 of 2024.
Make a motion to approve the contract extension.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the contract extension for the regional comp plan grant. All in favor will say aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. That's approved. We have a large-scale burn.
Yeah, this is for the Burchett property, which is, yeah, there it is, 5655 Stelz Road. And as you know, for any large-scale burns, requires board approval. Of course, we let the property owner know that they need to work with the fire company and so forth. And I see Mr. Burchett is here, and my understanding is you've already been in communication with the fire company and everything, so they're aware of what our policy is for the open large-scale burns, so.
Okay. Do you have a time frame when you're gonna light the match?
That's on Mother Nature.
Not tonight then? Okay, all right. Are we allowed to stop by with marshmallows? Outstanding.
So we need
Yep.
approval by the board.
Make a motion to approve the burn permit for the 5655 Stelz Road property.
Second.
Have a
Thank
motion
you.
and a second to approve the outdoor burn. I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the in favor. Outdoor burn is approved. We,
Yes. That would probably be up to the fire department.
I would say
Yeah.
work that out with the
That's
fire
Brad.
Yeah,
department.
yeah,
That's New Freedom.
you can have all the fun you want with the fire, as long as they're happy with it.
If the fire company's gonna be there and working with you, whatever they're comfortable with. So you can work that out with them.
If it saves you from moving a couple of things around, yeah, that's fine.
Well, they'll.
Fire
they'll
and
cer- they'll
brimstone
certainly-
over there on Stelz Road.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd have as few as possible that they're willing to cover, because they'll certainly make sure 911's aware that they're there on site and so forth. But
If you wait for the right time of year, you can make it look like a massive meteor shower hit the area with all those little ones. Anyway,
Todd, for these large-scale burns, does the fire department, if they're there with a truck, do they charge the permit holder?
They do not, they typically give them a donation.
Oh, they do, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you in advance.
all right, we have one development right agreement.
Yeah, you have a copy of the storm, wait a minute, development right verification.
634 Toad,
Yes.
I think the heavens have opened up.
Yeah.
We need that little roof, Todd.
Yeah.
Doorway.
That's not gonna help tonight.
We need drive-through garage doors so you
Yeah,
can
there you
park.
go.
inside.
Well, is what you can do too, if you want that, just park out front.
So, anyway, yes, they have 4 development rights and 3 are available for transfer or development.
Any questions for anybody? It's our standard agreement. Or is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the development right agreement for the 634 Toad Valley Road property.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to approve the development right agreement. If no questions, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. That agreement is approved. We have 2 stormwater conditions. I think we could handle both of these under one motion, Todd.
Yes.
Standard, nothing unusual about them.
No, standard routine.
Make a motion to approve the stormwater management agreements for 4627 Stelz Road and 12539 Susquehanna Trail South.
Second.
Oh, you guys are getting
Give
good
to,
over here.
give it to Jeff Reynolds.
I have a motion and a second to approve the two stormwater management agreements. No questions, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 By votes to the affirmative, they are passed. I have a good bit of correspondence. One is, I guess, the 5-year inspection now that notice that it's going out to 10 township residents who have wells. This is in accordance with the agreement put in place some time ago. That's for information. We have several thank you letters for donations that were made. And you have a copy of a lot of information that's done annually from the Realtors Association. It actually has some interesting information in there if you get time to look through it. A flyer for 3 music and the party events. This is one of the first things, I guess, that's been arranged by the new director for the Park Commission that we're cooperating with New Freedom. And I believe that's all that we have. I would note there was an outstanding request for help at the Shrewsbury Volunteer Firemen's Carnival, so if you're going to be here and can help, has anybody responded?
I'm gonna go Tuesday. Help
Okay.
bingo.
Okay, good. So, I'm sure you still have time to sign up if you want to help. So, if you get an opportunity, that would be great. And would notice, just a reminder that we're meeting the second Wednesday as advertised and planned in July, which I believe is July the 10th,
Correct.
right? Because of the July 4th holiday. So you have a longer time to prepare for the next meeting, a shorter time for the one after that. Is there any other business anybody wishes to bring up?
I'm sorry, when is the next meeting? July
10th.
10th.
Because
Lovely.
to get it away from the 4th holiday.
Ah.
Well, there are only 2 people left, so unless they have a public comment, oh, good, didn't say it for nothing.
He just wants to walk up here to get his check.
Brad Dobberman, Shrewsbury Borough, but I'm an avid Shrewsbury Township runner. If you're looking for a spot to spend money on a sidewalk, Mount Airy to 83, and putting the store and the gas station in there, there's going to be a lot more pedestrian
Yeah.
traffic. I've run
That's a good
that
point.
several times, and it's death.
I see that too. I do see people walking up that stretch, and there's not much room
Yeah,
to
there's
get a foothold because the bank is so steep. And Todd and I talked about that already, that's using, I agree, that's gonna get used a lot more with
it'll
it-
make it safer.
with the stores there. No, good point, thank you. Appreciate somebody else sees that too. There you go. See,
Pays to speak
you'll
up
make a
once in a
comment
while.
every meeting now.
Next month I have to choose.
Oh, that's right.
All right. I guess we are done if there's a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, so we are adjourned.
Sound like a raise there.